It's Ileana. So I've been investigating taking remote viewing to the next level. Usually, when you start to do remote viewing, you start with the ideograms and it forms a shape of what's going to be in your signal of the site that you're remote viewing that you're going to look at. So, your ideogram, your idiom, is the first thing that comes in as a signal. It's the first thing you connect to in frequency and energy of what's around you and wherever your consciousness is taking you of a assigned target in remote viewing. So the target, the ideogram, is going to give you a clue what the target is all about. And then you move forward using the ideogram to see parts of the remote viewing site. What's in the target as a broad perspective. So the ideogram is like the connection to the signal, the first portion of what you see. And in the last remote viewing that I did, the ideogram was a triangle. And that triangle led to seeing pyramids coated in a black substance attached to black site bases, military bases of the Black Operations Group, building pyramids as part of the base structure and architecture to harness and activate 0 point energy, to have their own sustainable energy power plants using pyramids. So that geometrical shape of the pyramid, it can literally activate producing electromagnetic fields and frequencies. And geometric alignment of pyramids produces 0 point energy. And whatever that black substance is that the pyramid is coated in, that amplifies harnessing 0 point energy and creates generators. These pyramids don't have to be big for this to work. It's 1 or 2 pyramids attached to every one of these black site underground bases. But the course that I took, Advanced Remote Viewing, looks at that coordinate remote viewing. What's the bigger picture? What's the complete image of what you're seeing in front of you? What is the purpose of what you're looking at as the target? And these black site bases of the Black Operations Group with these pyramids, they've built them out to a bigger scale where there's 4 pyramids instead of 2. And these bases are rectangular or sometimes circular. And they're built out on Mars, they're built out on Earth and larger underground facilities to harness more 0 point energy, to be independent of the surface electrical and power grids, to totally separate the structure of the Black Operations Group, the conglomerate, from anything connected to the surface, so they cannot be traced. Building bigger bases, building more pyramids connected to these bases. So when I was doing the coordinate remote viewing stages, there's like 5 to 6 stages in this more advanced remote viewing practice. You have to see all the puzzle pieces of all the bits of the target fitting. What is the purpose? How does it all connect in everything that you're seeing to see the large scope of the target? And I had to model all of these pyramids and these bases connected to each other to see the model of it. And in the course, it was basically from going back February 1985 for this coordinate remote viewing, which was done with experiments with the CIA Stargate project. That's where the coordinate advanced remote viewing originated from these various stages. So back then, they would draw everything on paper and write out what they were seeing from the targets, what the viewer was seeing from the targets or target, and the interviewer would go over with them if they were right, accurate, not so much. But taking this further into that coordinate remote viewing into these stages, the viewer would need to model what the huge target is. If there's a location, if there's a building, if there's something special about that building, technology inside it, or whatever, they would model that from clay, literally working the clay with their hands until they would get everything right from the target of what they were seeing. Well, now we have various modeling software that you can literally model the architecture of something, or you can model a person to see what the target is visually beyond the paper sessions. So my task was to model these 4 bases with huge bases and pyramids generating 0-point energy on Earth and on Mars, because these bases are also being built on Mars, apparently. Taking that target further out and seeing the big picture of what everything looks like as a whole to these 4 bases and the pyramids connected to them, harnessing that 0-point energy, acting as generators and collecting energy, collecting electricity power, and using it for the internal running of these bases, not connected to anything on the surface level, to electrical grids or power grids. Nothing is connected on the surface. These bases run independently on 0-point energy, harnessed from these pyramids, literally. And it's unlimited power, unlimited energy resources. So these Black Operations sites and the Black Operations Group conglomerate that is worldwide, it's self-sustaining, it's self-operational. It is, of course, an injustice that this is happening because they're not sharing this technology with humans on the surface. They're keeping it to themselves to be independent. We need to know what's happening here and why, because we would not need to be dependent on electrical grids or power grids that can't sustain energy, producing energy forever. And we need other alternative sources and resources, which the operatives and scientists have figured out how to do in these black sites. So eventually this will come out beyond remote viewing, but it was important to do the coordinate remote viewing stages to model what everything looks like and bring it to a conclusion of where this was going, what this looked like in those operations. So that's what I was doing with this modeling projection of these bases, these black sites in the pyramids, to show the bigger picture of what is happening here, what is happening below the surface, under our feet on Earth, and on other planets in the vicinity of Mars in this case, because these bases are also being built on the surface of Mars, and nobody's hiding that. Nobody is literally blanking that out. It's there. So I just wanted to share that information. Thank you so much.